Morning, guys. So we're just going to get right into it today. Just going to adjust this camera a little bit. All right, so today's learning target is an extension of yesterday's learning target. We're still working towards achieving this learning target. We're going to take today's activity to go deeper into the information that we began learning yesterday. So let's get started. I will be able to explain why people in the Axis countries accepted totalitarianism, fascism, or Nazism before World War II. So right away, one of the terms that should jump out to us is Axis countries. Remember that the Axis countries was one side, one alliance that fought during World War II. So on the Axis countries side, we looked at this map yesterday. On the Axis countries side, we have Germany, Italy, and Japan. That's our Axis country side. On the Allied country side, we have the US, France, England, eventually Russia joins in, as well as many, many other countries all around the world. Because World War II, just like World War I, is a global war. It involves countries from all around the world. We also in this learning target have 3 terms from yesterday, which were new to us then and we got familiar with yesterday, but we might not be 100% on all 3 terms yet. All 3 terms will be on Friday's quiz. All 3 terms end in this ism word: totalitarianism, fascism, Nazism. We learned yesterday that ism, that ending, just means a belief in, or a belief that. So all these words, because they end in ism, these are all beliefs. More specifically, these are all beliefs about how government should work, how government should work. Okay, so fascism is a belief about how the government should work. Nazism is a belief about how the government should work. Totalitarianism is a belief about how the government should work. But all 3 beliefs are different. Our job today is to figure out, why did people in the Axis countries, why did they accept these 3 beliefs in government? Why did they accept these 3 forms of government? Because if regular people like you and me had not accepted totalitarianism, fascism, or Nazism, World War II would never have happened. So now I've got a quick pop video that runs through the main causes of World War II, and then I'm going to explain how you are doing today's activity if you are not present in live class. So this brain pop video is the same one which is posted in today's instructions. If it's laggy in this video, you can just watch this video separately, but I am including it here.
You're attacking me in Greenland, but we had a deal. It's the last time I trust you. Dear Tim and Moby, what caused World War II? From Fred. Well, it's a pretty complicated story, and it begins at the end of World War I. In 1918, Germany was defeated by the Allied powers, Great Britain, France, Italy, and the United States. According to the Treaty of Versailles, Germany had to take full responsibility for starting the war and paid $33 billion to the winners. These funds were called reparations. World War I took a heavy toll on the German economy, and the reparation payments were way more than it could handle. To pay the debt, Germany printed more money. But that caused inflation to spiral out of control and made German money worthless. The inflation crisis was eventually resolved, but Germany still faced lots of other problems. Since unemployment was high and the new democratic government didn't have broad support from the people, there was frequent civil unrest. And then the Great Depression began in 1929. Although it started in the US, it caused economic hardship around the world. In these tough times, the German people were looking for leaders to restore order and prosperity. So they turned to Adolf Hitler. He was the leader of the Nazi Party, a fascist political movement. Well, fascism is sort of hard to describe. Basically, it's a form of government where power is concentrated in a single dictator. It's centered around an extreme form of patriotism or love for one's country and celebrates military strength and brute force. Sure, patriotism is usually a good thing, and there's nothing wrong with having a strong military either. But fascism takes away citizens' individual freedoms. It also holds that strong countries have the right to invade and conquer weak ones. Anyway, when Hitler took power, he immediately started building up his army and manufacturing tanks and warplanes. This kick-started the economy and made him popular among the German people. It also violated the Treaty of Versailles, which forbade Germany from building a strong army. But the leaders of Britain and France let Hitler do it anyway. Well, World War I wasn't only tough on Germany. The British and French lost 2 million soldiers in the war and spent the equivalent of $60 billion on it. They wanted to avoid another war at all costs. And they assumed that Hitler felt the same way, and that he wouldn't start a war as long as they didn't provoke him. This policy of letting Hitler do what he wanted was called appeasement. Hitler soon allied himself with Benito Mussolini, the fascist dictator of Italy. And later, the two of them made a pact with Imperial Japan, whose government was controlled by military generals. Together, they formed what became known as the Axis powers. During the 1930s, all three of these countries took over other nations. Japan took over parts of China, Italy invaded Ethiopia, and Germany annexed Austria. Yep, the international community let them get away with it. So Hitler started pushing to acquire even more territory. In 1938, the leaders of Britain and France met with Hitler and agreed to let him take over part of Czechoslovakia. Neville Chamberlain, the British Prime Minister, claimed this act would bring peace for our time. Yeah, in retrospect, he was wrong. But at the time, the agreement had wide popular support. Most people felt that Austria and Czechoslovakia weren't worth fighting a big war over. And some believed that Germany was rightfully reclaiming land it lost during World War I. However, when Germany invaded Poland on September 1st, 1939, Great Britain and France finally declared war. That was the beginning of World War II in Europe. The United States shipped supplies and weapons to France and England, but it wouldn't declare war or send troops. Meanwhile, the US tried to stop Japanese expansion with a trade embargo. That just means the United States ended all trade with Japan. Japan's reply came on December 7th, 1941, when Japanese warplanes attacked American ships at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The US declared war on Japan the very next day. A few days later, Germany and Italy declared war on the US. And that was the beginning of World War II for America.
So that video gives us a nice overview of the different causes of World War II. But before anyone starts invading anybody else, we have in the Axis countries the rise of fascism, totalitarianism, and Nazism. If regular people hadn't accepted these three ideas, fascism, totalitarianism, Nazism, World War II would have never gotten as big as it did. So it's important to understand how people in the Axis countries are feeling, how people in the Axis countries are thinking before World War II. And that's the point of yesterday and today's activity. So now let's look at the directions on page 2 of your daily packet for the day. Directions. Using the character profiles from yesterday, answer the questions below. If you are in live class, you will each be assigned a character. You'll rotate to different breakout rooms and interview each other in character. If you're not present in live class, your job is to answer all 5 questions based on the information in the character profiles. use the exemplar response to help you. Okay, so first of all, we need to use our character profiles today in order to complete the assignment. If you do not click on the character profiles, you will not have the information that you need to complete the assignment. Remember from yesterday, you've got a total of 9 different characters, including Hitler. These are all characters that lived before World War II. What you need to do is for each question, or use the character profiles to answer each question. So if the question, for example, asks, find someone who experienced World War I, what was their experience like? First, you're going to go to the character profiles and start reading until you find someone who was alive and experienced World War I. Read through the entire character profile in order to answer the question. You should not give one-sentence responses. So this is an example response. This person found that the character who experienced World War I was Angela Vincetti. So she copied her name down from the character profiles and wrote it where it says character. You write down the character's name. Then they answered the main question. What was their experience like? Angela Vincetti is an Italian citizen and mother of 5 sons. Her husband was killed in World War I. Their family business, a butcher shop, was also bombed and destroyed. The years after World War I were very tough for Angela. She was never able to get her business up and running again. So this person has both identified a character who experienced World War I, and they answered the main question in at least 2 to 4 sentences. You need to do that for all 5 questions. Use the character profiles to help you if you are not in live class.